Before you start this episode, I highly recommend you download the Improving My Wellbeing and Finding Balance podcast activity booklet. You can find this via www.thewellbeingcollective.co.uk/free resources. From this, you will be able to follow along with the balance wheel visuals whilst listening to Amy in the following episode.
Here we have a picture of the balance wheel, and this one has the segments already completed. You can download a range of different blank wheels to use for yourself. What we have here are the different segments of our life, and you can use the blank ones to use these segments, or you can devise your own segments. It's really up to you. We use this one particularly for well-being, because it recognises the connection and impact of the different aspects of our life on our overall well-being. And some may be more important to us than others. So as you can see, there's a central point, and then it expands out to the outside circumference of the circle. And the way that we score this is that if you can imagine the centre or the bullseye, that's a 0. So if your feelings around your work or your career in terms of that segment is really terrible at the moment, like it's the worst that it could be for you, then you might score yourself as 0. And then if it's the best it's ever been, or the best that you ever think it could be, you might score it a 10. And depending on how you feel about that segment, you may score it anywhere in between. And as you can see in this diagram, the way we filled it out has shown you that you can put lines across, but those lines don't always have to be exactly straight across. So you might want to put your line at an angle to show that overall you're feeling like a 5, but sometimes, or in some areas, that peaks up to a 7 or an 8. The crucial thing about this is that it's yours. It's your scores, it's your segments, it's your life, and most definitely your well-being. And so when you look at it, it's crucial to think about what you want to judge things by, not how other people might consider it. The other thing to notice, of course, is that the scores change over time. Every time you do a balance wheel, it's a snapshot. In fact, lots of people I know do them relatively regularly to track changes and to notice the differences. And you might be pretty certain about where your scores are, but if you look back or plan future-wise, you might be able to see that things are shifting and changing. Let's talk about one example, shall we? One segment to give you a sense of how it might work to make it really personal. Let's take the money one, because I've got a great example of someone I worked with who looked at the money one and put the score down low. And then in the coaching conversation he and I had, I said, what was that about? What is the low score for money? Are things really difficult for you right now financially? And he said, no, not at all. It's just that I don't earn very much. And by talking it through, he realised that the balance wheel wasn't about what he thought other people would expect of him. It was about how he felt about things. Now, he was someone that was really passionate about his hobbies and his family, and so he remained in a particular role that perhaps wasn't earning as much as he could have earned, but he was happy in it because it gave him balance in other areas. So in fact, the money segment needed to be much more highly scored to reflect the fact that he felt it was a conscious decision and it kept other things in balance. So it moved right up to an 8 He said it would have been nice to have some more money, but that he had chosen that role so that he could look after his children and keep going with his art and the other things that he did. So you can see that when you're looking at these segments, it is about you, and it's about what you consider good or bad, or balanced or unbalanced. And that what we have here is an overall picture, and you can start looking at how the different scores relate to one another, how they connect, do they impact on one another. If you were terribly worried about money, would that then affect your social life? If you were really, really unhappy at work, would that then affect the things that you want to do in terms of your physical health? Because these things are connected, and being able to tweak and refine things, we can get a sense of what good balance would look for us. I mentioned earlier that there are different versions. This one is orientated around our whole selves and therefore our well-being assessment. But in the blank ones, you can add in different segments. You could do one purely around work or a project that you're doing. You could do one that's purely around home, whatever works for you. You could even do it around a particular issue and different elements of that issue in terms of something that you're trying to work through yourself. It's an incredibly flexible tool. It's something that you can use on your own, you can use as part of a team, and you can certainly use with other people that you work with or even at home.